Should you live in Miami or should you live in Orlando? And this is actually a question that we get asked all the time. They're arguably two of the more populated cities here in the state of Florida, and they're both vastly different, but also vastly similar at the same time. So in this video, we're gonna look at what's making people wanna live in Miami and what's making people wanna live in Orlando, and kind of comparing and contrasting the two. And in the end, we'll decide which one is a better city to live in for you. Oddly enough, a ton of people are leaving Miami for Orlando. And when you look at where people are migrating from Miami, number one is Denver, but right after Denver is Orlando. And then when you look at Orlando, where most people are moving from to Orlando, number one is New York City, and then number two is Miami. So let's kind of dive into that and see what's making Orlando so special that people are wanting to leave Miami to move there. Let's start off with the food scene. If you're a foodie, you can't go wrong with either of these cities. When it comes to Orlando, there are a ton of chain restaurants. So if you're thinking of wanting I don't know, Red Lobster, Applebee's, Popeyes, Raising Cane's is there now, White Castle, all those different ones. This is an excellent option for you because there's literally everything and anything. On top of that though, there are a lot more mom and pop type restaurants that are popping up, more hole in the wall places. So we're being able to see and experience different cuisines. Speaking of different cuisines, they're pretty much anything and everything you want is there. One of the best places that I think that's probably not a chain that you have to go and check out has to be Chicken Fire. If you love Nashville hot chicken, this is definitely one place you have to go. It's just south of downtown. It's amazing. It's always busy, but definitely a good place to check out. Now on the flip side of that, let's talk about Miami. So Miami does very similar. They have pretty much everything and anything. I wouldn't say they have as many chains as that of Orlando. There are a lot of chains, don't get me wrong, but there are a lot of more hole in the wall type places, food trucks, just little different things to get. Like Orlando, you can pretty much get every type of cuisine you could want. Obviously, since you're close to the beach and the water, seafood is going to be a more popular dish, and traditionally Cuban food is pretty much a staple of all Miami cuisine. So there is a lot of Cuban food in Miami as well. When it comes to food options, I'm going to have to say it's a tie because they do pretty much have everything. Each one's got its own special thing. But at the end of the day, they're very, very similar, especially when it comes to hole in the wall places, because there's just an endless opportunity to go and try different things every single day. Now let's talk about the real estate. So in Orlando, there's a lot more new construction options, whether that's a single family, a condo, or a townhouse, mostly townhomes and single family though. So it gives you a lot of different options, not only just in the downtown Orlando area, but the greater Orlando area as well. When we're looking in terms of price points, the median price point in just Orlando, Orlando proper, is $365,000. So it is a lot more affordable, especially with the different credits and options that you can get with new construction, but there's also a lot of great resale options as well. On top of that, they do have their more expensive communities and areas as well, so don't think all of Orlando is super cheap. No, there's a lot of expensive cities and neighborhoods as well. So some that come to mind are obviously Winter Park, Windermere, and even the Lake Mary, Heathrow area as well. Now on the flip side of that, Miami is traditionally known as more expensive. They don't have a whole lot of new construction options. The new constructions that we do have in Miami are mostly new condo buildings that they are building. There are some new construction options with townhomes and single family, but not as many as that of Orlando. We might have 2 or 3 at a time. Nowhere near as big as those ones in Orlando. They're not resort style communities. It's literally just maybe 100 homes, and there's a nice playground area and things, but nothing crazy. On the flip side of that, the median sales price in Miami is $560,000, but there are a lot of affordable areas around Miami as well. So we're just talking about pure Miami, but a lot of people are kind of moving in the Broward, Hollywood area. You can go live in Aventura, Sunny Isles. There's some pockets where you can find a lot more affordable homes than that of the median. But overall, I will say the real estate in Miami and South Florida is a lot more expensive than that of Central Florida. On top of that, a lot of the homes in Miami are, for the most part, a lot older as well, which isn't a bad thing. A lot of people buy these older homes and then fix them up and kind of remodel them. Not a fix and flip, there are those, but a lot of them are just kind of taken down to the studs and then they're rebuilding and redoing everything to make it updated to today's type standards and the look and the feel of everything as well. Next is the weather. So I will say in Orlando, these summers are brutal. It is freaking hot. There's no breeze, so that just makes it that much worse. On top of that, the summers, there is a ton of rain and thunderstorms. Orlando is actually the lightning capital of the United States. Well, technically the Four Corners area, but you do get a ton of thunderstorms, especially in the summer. However, in the winter and like the fall and spring, the weather's really, really nice. Like it's cold for us Floridians. Like I'll wear a jacket or a hoodie. I mean, I'm freezing, and in the afternoon it definitely warms up. You do have your cold days here and there, but overall it's a lot more tame during that time of the year. Then in Miami, the summers are brutal, but you do get a breeze from the ocean and being on the water, which is nice. So it doesn't make it feel as bad, but it is humid. Like you will take the dogs out at midnight or just be outside at midnight and you'll be sweating your butt off. On top of that, there's a ton of rain in the summer as well. Every single afternoon, about 4 p.m., I can almost guarantee you it's going to rain. And then in the winter, like the fall, winter, springtime, it does cool off. You will have like maybe a week, 2 weeks where it's like, oh, it's kind of nice. You wear a light long sleeve shirt, but nothing really where you're having to wear a hoodie like that of Orlando. So overall, they're very similar, I would say, in terms of the weather. It just depends on what you like. I'm telling you, those summers in Orlando, though, feel hotter. For some reason, it feels like you're just baking in an oven than it does down here in Miami. But, I mean, they're pretty neck and neck on that one. Now let's talk about the sports in each of the cities. So in Orlando, you do have basketball. So you have, for the NBA, you have the Orlando Magic. For the soccer and the MLS, you do have Orlando City SC. And then you do have college sports as well, with UCF being right there. Then in terms of Miami, you do have pretty much every single major pro sports team. So for basketball, you have the Miami Heat. For baseball, you have the Miami Marlins. For hockey, you have the Florida Panthers. Then for soccer, you have Inter Miami, and everyone's on the bandwagon now because they have Messi. Football, you have the Miami Dolphins. And then you have college sports as well. You have the University of Miami, FIU, and FAU. So if you're a sports fan, I think Miami definitely takes the cake on that one. Now let's talk about the entertainment and things to do. So obviously this is one of the main reasons that you move to a city, because you're not just going to live in your house the entire time, unless you live on the water, and I could be perfectly fine with that. But each one of these cities has their own unique things, and they actually do have a lot of similarities at the end of the day, which people don't really kind of realize. So we'll talk about Orlando first, because that's what we've been doing. So obviously Orlando's known for the theme parks. You have all the theme parks that you can go to. We'll kind of put that out of the way. I mean, that is a huge component of it, but Orlando's actually so much more than that. So they do have a lot more outdoor activities, I would say, than Miami in the South Florida area. So there's a lot of parks, lakes to go explore, trails, springs, which are really fun. You're also not too far from the beach. People don't realize that. You're maybe about from downtown Orlando to the East Coast, about an hour. To Tampa, you're about 2 hours. So you can still go to the beach and go boating if you want to. On top of that, I mean, obviously you have farmers markets. There's a lot of focus on the arts in Orlando as well. I would say a little bit more so with performances than that of Miami, but that's just my personal opinion. And then obviously you have the food scene, farmers markets. Like there's a lot of stuff to do, and there's pretty much something for everyone. I mean, it is a very much so outdoor lifestyle, whether you like to walk, bike, or run. So you will see a ton of people outside, which is really nice. I wouldn't say it's extremely walkable, but there are a lot of walkable areas to it. Then in terms of nightlife, Orlando does have a pretty decent nightlife. Nothing like that of what you're thinking. I mean, downtown Orlando's got bars and things and some clubs, but nothing crazy. So if nightlife's your thing, maybe you gotta take a step back on the Orlando aspect of it. Then in Miami, obviously you have the beach. So we have some of the most famous beaches in the world with like South Beach, Hollover Beach, things like that. That's a huge aspect of pretty much life in Miami. Then you can go boating. Being on the water is also a huge component of it as well. And then kind of getting away from the water, there's plenty of other things to do. So there are arts and museums and things to explore. I would say there's not as much as that of Orlando personally. On top of that, obviously you have the sports aspect of it. You have plenty of shopping and dining opportunities. I mean, it seems like there's a more so focus though on the luxury side of things, and just being a little bit more upscale with both the dining and the shopping. Not to say that there's not options that are just kind of in the middle, but there is a huge focus on it. And you can kind of get that feel as you're exploring Miami. And then kind of talk about the nightlife and things. If nightlife's your thing, Miami's taking that cake by far. I mean, you have some of the most famous nightlife spots, I mean, in the entire United States. You have like Live, you have Space. I mean, all these different things that are going on in Miami. There's something always going on, which is number one, crazy. Number two, it never stops. Like literally you can go out and do something every single night, and there's something new to do every night. And that's a huge focus of the Miami lifestyle. Obviously there's different aspects of it that you can kind of step away from. You don't have to be involved in that, But if nightlife and going out and doing that is your thing, like this is the place for you. So in terms of Miami versus Orlando, I think the best way someone put it is Orlando's like a much more tame Miami, and I could 100% see that. So let us know in the comments down below, which do you think is a better place to live? Is it better to live in Orlando or is it better to live in Miami? And if you're looking to buy or sell anywhere in either Orlando, Miami, South Florida, Central Florida, the entire state of Florida, if you need any help, my team and I would love to be your real estate resource of choice. You can email me, joe@theveragroup.com. Until next video.